Okay, I want to work a problem involving money. So you have 6 times as many quarters as dimes, and the total amount of money is $8. So how many quarters and dimes do you have? So the first thing I want to do is take this second piece of information where it says I have the total amount of money is $8. So if it tells me that the total amount of money is $8, I know I can write this equation. I can say Q is going to be quarters. So I actually could just say Q is equal to quarters, and D is equal to dimes. Okay? Now, we know from this piece of information where it says the total amount of money is $8, we know that, so 0.25, because each quarter is where is 0.25 or 25 cents. So Q, and that's going to be plus 0.10, and the reason it's 0.1 is because each dime is worth 10 cents. D, and that all equals up to $8. Okay. Now that is indeed our first equation. So it's 0.25Q plus 0.10D equals $8. Now it says up at the top that you have 6 times as many quarters as dimes. Okay, so that's easy. All that means is that we have Q, or the number of quarters, is equal to 6D, right? Now what we can do here in order to solve this, we have 2 equations and 2 unknowns, so we can actually substitute this Q right here for this Q, and we can solve the problem. And that's exactly how I'm going to do the problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 6D, and don't forget it's multiplied by 0.25, okay? So 6D times 0.25, because this is only taking care of the Q, not the 0.25. And then that's going to be plus 0.10D, and that's all going to equal $8. Okay? Now, if we multiply that out, so 60 times 0.25, 6 times 0.25 gives me 1.5. So it gives me 1.5D, and that's going to be plus 0.1D, and that still is all going to equal 8. Okay? Now, since we have the same terms here, we can just add these together, and that gives me a total of 1.6D is equal to 8. I'm going to divide both sides by 1.6, divide this side by 1.6. D is equal to 5. Okay? So that's the first answer. We have 5 dimes. Now, if we want to know how many quarters we have this really convenient equation here, and it just says Q is equal to 6D. So Q is equal to 6 times 5. So Q is equal to 30. And that's, really simple, but again, it helps to keep seeing how to kind of find unknowns. So there's 5 dimes and 30 quarters, okay? Now, in order to check this, and I want to be more careful from now on and start checking these things properly, all we have to do basically is see, does this make sense? So do we have the proper amount of money? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this equation up here, and I'm going to plug in for Q and D and see if it adds up to $8. Okay? So 0.25, and that gets multiplied by the number of quarters. The number of quarters is 30, and that's going to be plus 0.10 times the number of dimes. There's 5 dimes. Does that all equal 8? Okay, so 30 times 0.25 gives me 7.5. And 0.10 times 5, well, you might have guessed, that gives me 0.5. Okay, and if I add that together, does it equal 8? Well, 7.5 plus 0.5 equals 8, so 8 equals 8, and it checks out.